The relentless sun beat down on Burkina Faso, scorching the cracked earth where rivers once flowed. For 3 years, drought had gripped the nation, draining its lakes to dust and reducing its rivers to feeble trickles. Villages stood abandoned, their inhabitants fleeing to cities or crowding at the Mali border, desperate for survival. In Ouagadougou, the capital, thousands gathered in the central square, clutching empty water containers, their chants of, "We want water," echoing through the stifling air. The protests, born of desperation, were spiraling into a political crisis, threatening to topple the government of President Ibrahim Traoré. From the presidential palace, Traoré stood at a window, his face a mask of calm, though his mind churned with the weight of the nation's plight. Beside him, Defense Minister Ouedraogo delivered a grim report. "Mr. President, the situation worsens daily. 5 northern cities are deserted. People are flooding the capital or massing at the border with Mali." Traoré's eyes flicked to the minister. "And Mali?" he asked. Ouedraogo's jaw tightened. "They're better off with the Niger River, but they've sealed their borders. No refugees are being accepted." Traoré nodded, his gaze returning to the restless crowd below. "The French?" he asked, his voice low. Ouedraogo exhaled sharply. "Aqua Global has raised water prices again. A liter of clean water now costs more than gasoline, and they're only accepting foreign currency." Traoré's fists clenched, his voice trembling with restrained fury. "They're not selling water. They're buying our sovereignty, drop by drop." The room grew heavier as Communication Minister Ouedraogo entered, his face drawn. "Mr. President, the international press is besieging us, CNN, BBC, France 24. They're all reporting government failure and an impending humanitarian disaster." Intelligence Chief Sankara added, "The opposition is amplifying this through foreign channels." Former Foreign Minister Cabouret held a press conference in France, calling for international support to overthrow you. Traoré's eyes moved to the map on his desk, where once vibrant rivers and lakes were now marked in desolate brown. "They expect us to let our people die of thirst, then borrow their money to buy their water," he said, his voice cold. "Sudan, Egypt, Libya, now us, this isn't chance. It's a strategy." Before anyone could respond, his assistant entered. "Mr. President, Dr. Zita is here. He insists on meeting you urgently." He mentioned Blue Belt. The room froze. Blue Belt was Traoré's most guarded secret, known only to a trusted few. Eyes darted between the men, suspicion mingling with curiosity. "Let him in," Traoré ordered. Dr. Adama Zita, a determined engineer in his 30s, strode in with a leather satchel, his face lit with purpose. "Mr. President, 2 years ago, you thought Blue Belt was impossible. Today, I bring the first test results." He pulled out a tablet and displayed a 3D model of the Sahara subsurface. "Here, 400 meters below the desert, lies an ancient water basin from the last ice age. Our geological estimates suggest it holds 500 billion cubic meters of water." Traoré took the tablet, his eyes widening as he studied the glowing map. "If this is true," Zita continued, "this basin could supply Burkina Faso for a century. Not just us, all of West Africa." The room was silent, the weight of the revelation sinking in. That night, in a signal-proof chamber deep beneath the palace, Traoré convened his inner circle, Zita, Sankara, Ouedraogo, and Economy Minister Diop. Maps and reports sprawled across the table as Zita explained. "The technology exists to extract this water. I worked on a similar project in China. Their basin was shallower, but the principles are identical." Diop, ever pragmatic, asked, "The cost?" Zita didn't hesitate. $2 billion for the first phase. 5 to 6 billion for the full project. Diop shook his head. "Our budget can't handle that. The IMF and World Bank are squeezing us dry. No new loans." Ouedraogo suggested, "The Chinese?" Sankara cut in. They'd face backlash from the French in this trade war climate. They won't risk it. Traoré stared at the map, tracing the basin's outline beneath Burkina Faso and into Mali. "We can't do this alone," he said. "Not financially, not politically. The West will sabotage it at every turn." Zita, puzzled, asked, why would they block water for survival? Traoré's smile was bitter. "Water is the new oil, my friend. Control it, and you control nations. If Africa masters its water, their leverage vanishes." Sankara's voice was grim. "The people are furious, and French agents are stoking it. A coup is imminent." Traoré's eyes hardened. "We start Blue Belt. But not alone. We form an alliance, Niger, Chad, Mali, Senegal. They all face the same water crisis, the same Western grip." Ouattara blinked. "Mali? Our relations are at their lowest." Traoré shook his head. "This isn't just engineering. It's a revolution. We collaborate on technology, finance, and leadership. Short term, we ease the people's suffering to buy time." The meeting stretched into dawn, forging the blueprint for Blue Belt, a project to reshape the region's future. In Paris, at the French Foreign Ministry, Africa Desk Chief Philippe Dubois studied a tablet with a list of names from a late-night meeting in Ouagadougou. His assistant highlighted Dr. Zita. Geologist and water engineer. Trained in Shanghai, worked on China's Gobi Desert water projects. Dubois's face darkened. "The Nubian aquifer. Is Traoré after that basin?" His assistant nodded. "It extends into Burkina Faso." Dubois dialed the foreign minister. "Urgent." Within an hour, a high-level meeting convened. The foreign minister, DGSE director, Aqua Global CEO Pierre Renaud, and the Africa Affairs advisor. Dubois laid out the threat. "If Traoré taps this basin, our control over West Africa collapses. Aqua Global's water sales plummet, and our uranium deals in Mali and Niger are at risk." The DGSE director pushed for action. "We plan to unite the opposition for a water coup, but we can't wait. We accelerate." The foreign minister hesitated. "Direct intervention will spark backlash. China and Russia will cry neo-colonialism." Dubois leaned forward. "No direct moves. We back Kaboré, stoke unrest, and deepen the water crisis." Renaud nodded. "Aqua Global can cut supply, citing technical issues." Dubois added, "The Blue Belt is a strategic threat. If it succeeds, other African nations will follow. Zita is the key, buy him or neutralize him." The room agreed, the water coup would move forward. 2 weeks later, at a secret military base 300 kilometers from Ouagadougou, Traoré and Zita briefed engineers and geologists from 5 nations. A massive map showed the basin crossing borders. Traoré's voice was resolute. "This water belongs to no single country. Our solution must unite us." A Malian engineer raised concerns. "The cost is daunting. Our economies are already strained." Traoré countered, "We spend $10 billion yearly on water imports to Western firms. Blue Belt could pay for itself in 5 years." They outlined phases, country-specific studies, joint technical teams, and financing from BRICS or the African Development Bank. Traoré closed the meeting. "Today, we take a historic step to reclaim Africa's lifeblood." Sankara burst in, his face ashen. "Mr. President, protests in the capital have turned violent. Zita's home was attacked." Zita paled. "My family?" "Safe," Sankara assured. "Our guards intervened, but the house is gone." Traoré recognized the tactic. Classic destabilization. End the meeting. Secure routes back. Zita, you're too valuable. Head to our Mali border base. As their helicopter sped toward Ouagadougou, flames dotted the landscape below, government buildings ablaze, crowds clashing. In the palace's command center, Wedrao reported, 2 brigade commanders defected. Northern troops are advancing on the city. The western garrison remains loyal. Traoré studied the tactical map. I must address the nation. Prepare a live broadcast. Sankara protested, that reveals your location. Traoré was firm. The people need the truth. An hour later, in full uniform, Traoré faced the nation on television. My dear citizens, foreign powers and their agents seek to overthrow your government to control our water. But we've discovered a vast basin beneath the Sahara, enough to end our crisis and free West Africa. The Blue Belt Project, with our neighbors, will deliver this. Aqua Global and its backers want to stop us. He showed the map, his voice unwavering. They fear our unity. I call on our soldiers, do not fire on your people. Join us for Burkina Faso's future. General Bamoro's troops advanced on the palace, but Traoré's speech ignited a firestorm. On social media, #Bluebelt trended as citizens rallied. Our water is ours, red banners outside the palace. Some soldiers lowered their weapons, refusing orders. By dawn, the coup collapsed. Bamoro and Colonel Dop were arrested, their forces scattered. 3 months later, on the Sahara's edge, a ceremony marked the Blue Belt's first drilling. Leaders from Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, Chad, and Senegal stood united, their flags fluttering. Traoré spoke with fire. This isn't just drilling. It's a new chapter for Africa's independence. Water is life, and we reclaim it. Mali's president added, for too long, our resources, oil, gold, diamonds, now water, have been exploited. Blue Belt is our freedom. Zita detailed the plan. Drilling to 400 meters, installing pumps and pipelines, with completion in 5 years. Traoré started the first drill to thunderous applause. 6 months later, at 412 meters, the basin was reached. Water samples were pristine, needing no treatment. This water is 10,000 years old, Zita marveled. Initial pumps delivered small amounts to nearby settlements, easing their plight. International media hailed Blue Belt as Africa's water revolution. The African Development Bank pledged $3 billion, BRICS added $1 billion, and even some European nations offered cautious support. But France and Aqua Global fought back, delaying equipment and fueling unrest in Mali. In Ouagadougou, pipelines reached the capital, filling reservoirs. For the first time in years, water queues vanished. Traoré and Zita visited a distribution center, watching relieved citizens fill containers. This is why we fight, Traoré said, his voice soft. 2 years on, the Sahara Water Alliance. Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, Chad, Senegal, transformed the region. Beyond water, it fostered economic and security cooperation. At an international water conference, Traoré declared, water must cease to be a weapon. Blue Belt proves it's humanity's shared heritage. In a video call, he outlined Phase 2, 10 million cubic meters daily, enough for the region's needs. Mali's president asked about Phase 3. Irrigation, Traoré replied. We'll triple food production. Niger's leader warned of Western interference, citing a Nigerian coup attempt. Traoré nodded. If Nigeria joins, the region's power shifts. They'll try to stop it. By the 5th year, Blue Belt operated at full capacity, supplying all 5 nations. Water scarcity faded. At the main pumping station, Traoré and Zita marveled at the transformation. Giant pumps, powered 80% by solar energy, delivered millions of cubic meters daily. A city had sprung up around the station, schools, hospitals, markets, an oasis in the desert. At a press conference, Traoré addressed the world. Blue Belt shows Africa can control its resources, water, oil, gold, cobalt. We now negotiate as equals. A journalist asked about France. The colonial era is over, Traoré said. Even Aqua Global seeks fair partnerships. Later, atop the pumping station, Traoré and Zita gazed across the Sahara. 5 years ago, were you sure we'd succeed? Traoré asked. Zita grinned. Technically, yes. Politically? I doubted we'd get this far. Traoré chuckled. The greatest obstacle is believing in limits. Below, pumps hummed, delivering water to Africa's heart. Blue Belt became more than engineering, it symbolized Africa's reclaimed sovereignty, sparking regional unity and economic growth. For Traoré, it was just the beginning of a longer journey to true independence, now walked together.